Join me for a trip to the Iberian Performance Spring Show. It was a very frustrating day out, so it didn't go to plan. So it's 6 days before IPS, which is the Iberian Performance Show, and I'm really not feeling very confident about things after my terrible dressage outing on Wednesday last week. I just feel like he's quite on edge. I borrowed my friend's arena tonight just so that I could try and try his paces with my old music to see if it still works. And he was just very spooky with, there's turkeys that live the other side of the fence, which doesn't help, but you know, he just felt very on edge. I don't know if it's the spring grass coming through or what, but yeah, so not really great in terms of feeling confident after the judges' comments in the last test, which I'm trying to move on from, but obviously it's you know, it's just put me in a bit of a downer really, and I haven't really got much time now to get my music sorted out. I've done a floor plan using an app, which actually was really good, so I will do a little review of the app that I used to do that. But there's quite a lot of movements to fit into the medium test, and until I get a chance to ride through it in a 20x60 arena, which I won't have the chance to do until possibly Wednesday, maybe even later in the week, and then I've got to edit the music to it to fit the new floor plan, because the last time I rode this music I did an elementary test, so it's going to be different. And yeah, I'm just feeling like I'm running out of time again, and haven't really got much help to do it, so I'm just kind of trying to do it myself, and I don't know if the floor plan's right, and I don't know whether the music's going to work amazingly well for it, but I'm just going to have to see how it goes really. So yeah, 6-7 days to go, and yeah, the thing I'm most worried about is the parade class, because if he is going to be spooky, riding in that Spanish tack is different, and I'm going to have a little trial run at Amber's tomorrow with the Spanish tack, just because I haven't taken him out in it for a while. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes, but obviously riding without a proper hat on as well, I might decide to just wear my hard hat if he's feeling like he's not, you know, listening very well or a bit spooky. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I've just loaded the Dome of a Care attack into the lorry, and Alfie's obviously feeling as enthusiastic as I am about the whole idea, because he's disappeared off down there. Maybe he's going to come back. No, he's going to come. Come on, Alfie. Come on, boysy. You coming? Honestly, I really just feel like giving up days like today. It's just this weather. It's just unbearable. Estrella, oh, bloody hell. What a walk. It's really helpful when you're trying to keep your horse clean as well, when they decide to gallop through a bog before your lesson. Really helpful. Are you stopping, or are you buggering off by yourself? Buggering off by yourself. Right, brilliant. This is I've just actually shut that gate down into my bottom field to stop them going down there for this week, because I just haven't got time this week to be messing around playing, run around the field and wade through knee-deep mud. But yeah, this is the problem with having lessons in the middle of the day. If it's one end of the day or the other, I can get him in quite easily because of the feeds. So, you know, he comes in either end of the day. It's always when I turn up in the middle of the day like this that he's in pain in the arse, basically. And they all think it's great fun, having had their hay and their feeds in the morning, to then have a play around with Mummy and let her chase him around the field like some big game. But I'm really exhausted. I haven't really got the energy to be wading through this today. I feel half dead. So yeah, could really do without it, and it makes me late because I can't get him in when I need to. Oh, look, there they all are. Look, it's like a game. I really hope they're not going to go back down there again, because my sciatica is really playing up and I just can't go back down there and up again. Too tired. Can you be nice to Mummy and come in now, please? Elf. Come on. Good boy. Enough games. Time to come in now. Good boy. Right, I'll stop filming. Put his head collar on. So he let me catch him after that, as he always does, and was fine to load and everything. So we managed to get to Amber's a bit late. So we didn't have a very good start with the tack. So when we went to first tack him up, he was really stressy about it. Didn't want the bridle on, didn't want the curb chain done up, didn't want anything on basically, and was just very, very on edge. So Amber suggested putting him in his normal bridle, and she got on him in a normal jumping saddle that she had here, and he was fine. So then we've swapped him back into the Spanish tack and he's being fine. So I don't really know what that was all about. It hasn't really filled me with too much confidence for the weekend, but anyway, Amber's doing a good job, and thanks for getting on him, Amber. And I'm gonna have a little go on him in a minute and just I don't know whether to pull out of the parade class if I go or not, but anyway, we'll see what happens. Right, so Amber's helped me get on him. Thank you, Amber, for being so positive today, because I have not been feeling very positive. So I've got on him. This is the view from up here. So you have got a big pommel, 2 sets of reins, and he's got his flippy floppy mascara, or his fringy brow band. So he's actually walking around perfectly happily, as you can see. So I don't know really what his little upset was about getting tacked up. He seemed really not happy about it at all, but now that I'm on him, he feels like his usual self and he's quite happy. So anyway, I'll have a little trot around in a minute and just see how we go. And yeah, I think it's just going to be a play it by ear on the day if I go to the show, and see whether he's feeling sensible or not, really. Just forgot to show you the stirrups. So these are the stirrups. So they're pretty massive. So they do take a little bit of getting used to. So I'm feeling completely at home on him now. So I really don't understand what his whole flap about was for. We had a little cant around in the arena with everything on, and he was fine. So yeah, left on a positive note at least. I mean, this is actually quite a nice canter, and I've always ride him on a very loose rein in this bridle. I don't like to hold him very tight in it, but he's really happy, so So what a difference a day makes, as they say. So I had my lesson with Amber on Tuesday, where we rode him in the Spanish tack after he had his little flip out about having it on, but he was fine by the end of it, and I left that feeling really much more confident than I had been feeling. And a big thank you to Amber for dealing with that so well. I wasn't really in a great state of mind after that horrible judge sheet last week and the jet wash incident. He hasn't been his normal self. He was very on edge after that episode of all the noise and the banging, and I don't know, the last few times I've ridden him in an arena since then, he was just really on edge about everything. So I feel like Amber helped me finish that on a good note on Tuesday. And then yesterday I had a pivot lesson with Il Forbio's breeder in Spain, who is called Philip, and he helped me run through my floor plan that I'd put together. So I put together the floor plan using an app. It's called Freestyle Floor Planner. I wrote it down there. So yeah, it's an app that helps you to build the segments of the floor plan to your level, and I'm going to do a little review on it because I think it's really good and it worked really well. But obviously until you actually ride the floor plan through, you don't always know if it's going to work very well for your horse. But yeah, I sent it to Philip as a PDF after I'd done it, and he had a look through it before our lesson, and then we just changed 1 or 2 really small bits on it. And the aim of yesterday was to try and ride through the whole floor plan without any errors and get Sophie to video it for me so that I could then edit the music to it. So yeah, it went really well. The floor plan actually rode really nicely for him, so I'm glad it worked out well. And he actually worked really nicely yesterday, so that was good. He felt much more relaxed, and I've managed to edit the music last night, so I've now got a track ready to play for Sunday for the medium freestyle that I'm doing. And tomorrow I am having a lesson with Claire Spear, who is another really good dressage rider and judge, and she's really knowledgeable about dressage to music and putting together quadrilles and things like that. So I'm going to have a last ride through my music and put it all together for the first time tomorrow morning. So hopefully that ride through will go well, and I will be ready for Sunday. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling in a better frame of mind about everything. We also had a bit of a training episode with an umbrella yesterday because it was raining and I was worried that the pivot was going to get wet. So Sophie brought an umbrella with her and sat at the end of the arena, and he was fine with that. And I was riding past the end of the arena where she was sat, and he was, he had a little look, but not too bad. But then I asked her to pass me something, and when she walked up to him with the umbrella, he obviously didn't like that. But Philip helped us work through that, and by the end of a few minutes of working with the umbrella and Sophie doing what Philip was telling her to do and getting closer and further away, and I was circling Elf around the umbrella and everything, we actually got to a point where he was fine with the umbrella. So that was good, and I think it's a good practice exercise because you never know when you go to shows if it's going to pee down with rain. You're obviously going to get people stood at the side of the fence and stuff with different coats and umbrellas and things. So yeah, that was actually good practice, and it's given me a bit more confidence for the weekend because he actually felt a lot more settled than he had done for the last few times since I did that MCI test that went a bit wrong. So yeah, anyway, let's see how it goes. I will probably make my mind up while I'm there on Sunday as to whether I do the Spanish tap class, because if he's not feeling relaxed, I'm not getting on him without a proper hat. But yeah, we'll see how we go. These are a few clips of our run through the floor plan on Wednesday with Philip using the pivot to help. And just so you know, my back was really not very good here, and I was booked in to see the osteopath on Thursday morning to try and sort out the sciatic pain I had down my leg. So I'm a bit stiff in this video, but actually the run through went really well. So you can get extra marks for more complexity, and by doing your lateral work not on the arena wall, you can get more marks. So I did this shoulder in right to then shoulder in left along the centre line so that it was a bit more complicated, because we can do quite good shoulder ins, and I was hoping that would pick us up a few more marks for complexity. This was going to be a loop initially, but Philip said to change it into another small half pass back to the fence, so it would give us a second chance at picking up some extra marks if the other half pass and trot didn't go so well. So I've had to edit the actual music out because of copyright. So the music I used was Puss in Boots from the film Puss in Boots, because it's got quite a nice Spanish feel to it, and that was for the trot work. And I've used a song by Mike Batt for the walk work called Caravans, and then another song which was based on Sia Cheap Thrills by a string quartet, and the music fits in really well. I've always had good comments from judges, and anyone that's taught me and ridden through the music with me has always said the music suits him really well, so I was quite happy with how that went. So as you can see, the counter work has gone to plan. We've got the correct leads where we needed to. This is the counter half pass into a simple change. We are still struggling with our simple changes, so I was not expecting this to be very good, but we did manage to do it in the warm-up practices that we did. This counter half pass isn't looking too bad, and just trying to nail these simple changes is always the little demon for us. But overall, this went really well. I was very happy with the floor plan. We managed to ride through the whole thing with no mistakes, and that gave me something to edit the music to. So I added in this little sort of serpentine in the middle of the arena, and then up to the top and down the centre line to finish, which meant I had a bit of flexibility. If I knew I was behind or in front of the music, I could either cut that short or change it slightly at the last minute to fit the ending of the music, but this worked well for the practice. So that was the Wednesday. Thursday I went to the osteopath, and Friday morning we ran through the test. So I've just got back from Claire's. It did completely pee down with rain, as per usual, but put his quarter sheet on and he managed to stay fairly dry with that on, and we just took it off for the last bit when it wasn't quite so heavy rain. And riding through the test went quite well. So a couple of little timing issues from the coming back from the canter to the last trot, but that's fine because I designed the test so that I can adjust that if I'm a bit behind the music. So went well. He was pretty good, and there were some chickens by the side of her arena which weren't there last time we went, in a new big pen, so he was not quite sure about those, but he rode past it and through it, and we got there in the end. So going to unload him now, go home and try and dry off, and hope that it's not going to be like this tomorrow when I'm loading the lorry to go. So Saturday I left in the afternoon to travel to the venue. So Elfie's just having a quick half feed. He'll have the other half later when we get to the venue when he's stabled. I've just given up trying to keep him clean, because as you can see this is all flooded in here, so I haven't really got anywhere now to be able to clean him or wash him off. Everything is just completely saturated and underwater. So yes, his tail I did wash it the other day, but it's not looking amazing. But anyway, try and give him a little bit of a wash when we get there and see what I can tidy him up tomorrow. So yes, wish me luck. I was pleased with him travelling, and he unloaded happily at the other end. So just put him in the stable, and he's got some lovely shavings. So I just put one bale in, that'll be enough just for one night. Hopefully he's going to enjoy having a nice relaxing evening out of the wind and rain for a change. But he's quite settled already. We've only been in here a few minutes, and he's a good boy, aren't you? So I used the hose there to wash off his legs, give his tail another really good wash, and try and clean his head off a bit because he was very orange. I don't have any video of the warm-up, but there was a very young stallion that was in there. I was told everybody needed to avoid it. You can just see it in the corner of the picture there. It was very unsettled, and it really didn't help our warm-up at all because we couldn't use the whole arena, and then he was just getting very unsettled by, it just wasn't a very settled atmosphere. So I'm waiting here for the music to start, and then I couldn't hear the music when they started it. It was just too low because of the wind. So we had a bit of a long hang around before we could even get going, and he was just getting more and more annoyed, I think, with the whole thing. So it just really didn't go our way, the warm-up or the start of the test. They did increase the volume of the music, but it was just very windy as well, so every time the wind blew on that side of the arena, I just couldn't hear it. We were the first ones to do the music, so I think they did turn it up slightly after that. As you can see, by this point, he's just mentally not with me. He is really, really tense, and whether he was just tense because he was a bit unsettled by everything, or whether he is tense because he's actually a bit excited and hyped up by the atmosphere, I'm not sure, but he was not very rideable. I was just really struggling the whole of this test to keep a lid on him, and every time I put my leg on, he was trying to canter when I just wanted him to trot, as you can see there as we move away. And yeah, I just struggled to keep him with me for the whole thing, to be honest, which was a shame, because there were a few bits of the test that are quite nice, but it just was a bit of a disaster all in all. So yeah, the beginning wasn't too bad. That medium trot was okay. This wasn't too bad coming into the shoulder in down the centre line. He just wasn't really bending around my leg as well as he could have done. Again, this is just the tension messing things up a little bit for us. But yeah, we managed it. And then back round this corner here to go into the half pass, and again he's trying to canter when he's just meant to be going into the half pass. Just the tension is just making him too hot off my leg, and he's just kind of forgetting himself a bit and not listening. So yeah, a bit of a shame really. But it's just so frustrating, because when he does do it correctly, we can do it. It's just this tension again there, trying to canter into that corner when it's just meant to be a half pass out of that corner. Just so unsettled. So every ride through we've done with the music, it's been fine for this bit, but because he has been so hot, we are now ahead of the music, and I got to this corner here. It was meant to be walking, and the music still had another few seconds, so I was like, oh my god, what am I going to do? So I just stuck in this really rubbish circle, which was very obvious to the judge that we were then very ahead of our music. So that spoilt the trot to walk section a bit. And yeah, then we did the free walk, well no, extended walk this is, up to the centre line, and this wasn't too bad. I don't think he actually head flicked as well, which is good, because normally the walk work when he's tense is when he starts doing his head tossing, and again that was meant to be walk, but he's trotted. He's just very forward and onward bound, and a bit difficult to keep a lid on things. This was our pirouette. That's not too horrendous. And then back round on a bit of a loop to the arena fence, and then another walk pirouette before we start our canter work. So yeah, this is all looking very sticky and not very flowing, unfortunately. Again, that tension creeping in. And then here we are at the F marker to do our pirouette to the right, which is always our worst pirouette. So yeah, not great, but not terrible. And this is where it starts to go really wrong. So I'm really struggling to get him straight against the arena rail here to get the canter transition, and he's noticed the photographer and decided to have a good old spook at him. So yeah, eventually we do get into the canter, and then he chucks in another big spook in this bottom corner. Don't even know what that was about. So yes, eventually we do manage to get going. This is meant to be the half pass and canter. I don't know what the hell he's doing here, just completely losing the plot. So we didn't really get our half pass and canter to that rain. Then he didn't want to come back to the walk for the simple change. Yeah, this is just all fairly disastrous. Half pass to the right. Yeah. I don't really know what to say here. Anyway, and then we are behind the music somehow. I don't know how that happened. So yeah, we are just a bit all over the place here, and by this point I'm just willing it all to end so that I can go and cry in a corner somewhere. So yeah, last little bit of trot work. This actually wasn't too bad, the last little S-shape sort of serpentine across the middle, and I can hear the music here because I'm near the speaker, and so that helps, so I can kind of gauge where I need to turn. And I think I decided to turn a little bit earlier than the end of the arena because I felt I was slightly behind the music. So yeah, we did end up finishing for our final halt in the correct place and at the correct time with music. So yes, that at least was one thing that went okay, and caught us out for the final halt just to really finish it off in a great way. So that was a thoroughly unsuccessful show. Terrible music thing. He was a complete idiot, just not listening, jumping around, and just before we were going to go into our second class, he has stood on his shoe and pulled it off and twisted it, so now all the nails are hanging out on one side. So that is game over for us. So definitely no parade class, and a very expensive trip out to do one not very good music test. But anyway, never mind. All in all, that was not a great show for us. Yeah, say no more. Yeah, so that was another complete disaster day. So just to recap last week, so we did the MCI test, and that was really awful because of all the distractions and the jet wash and everything. So he was very on edge for the first couple of rides after that earlier last week. So I thought about pulling out, but then we had a better ride eventually on Tuesday after he'd had a bit of a strop about having his Spanish tack put on. But once Amber rode him in the English tack, and then we swapped him back into the Spanish tack after that, and he was fine. That was he felt absolutely fine. So I don't know really what that was about, but we finished on a good note then. And then I had a really good lesson on Wednesday running through my floor plan with Philip, and then I had another really good lesson on Friday with Claire Spear going through my dressage floor plan with the music edited and playing, and both those run-throughs of the music went really well. So I finished the week going, actually, yeah, we will go to the show, and actually I think we've got a good chance of doing really well in the music class. If it goes to plan, we could do really well. So yeah, famous last words, because obviously it did not go very well, and left me seriously disappointed with the whole thing again after the hours and hours of effort I put in, the extra lessons I paid for to get the floor plan done, trying to squeeze all of this in between running the wide boot company and my other part-time job. So it's a lot of effort. I don't have an arena, I don't have a hose, I don't have any running water, just a trough that refills in my field, and the whole field is underwater. My little shelters that I can use as kind of stables are underwater, full of silt and mud. So I've got nowhere to clean my horses off at the moment because it's just all completely boggy. So it was a hell of an effort just to get to the show. Saturday night I turned up with my husband and we unloaded him, and after he'd had a bit of time in the stable I brought him out, and this is my horse, not my husband. So yes, we brought Elf out of the stable and used the hose at the venue to wash his legs and tail, and get rid of the worst of the mud again. So it's very hard just to get a grey horse to a big show like that, especially when you see everybody else coming off their lorries and they've obviously been able to stable their horses the night before and give them proper baths and get ready properly. I don't have that luxury, so you feel a bit kind of you're starting on the back foot before you even get there. But now I managed to get him looking relatively clean, considering he had come out of effectively a bog. And then he was good overnight. He was pretty relaxed platting up and getting on him. He was fine. And then we went into the warm-up and I was told, don't go close to this horse. It's you know, a young horse and it's being really difficult, so everyone needs to stay out of its way. So that wasn't really terribly helpful, because I was really hoping to have a nice relaxing warm-up. I tacked up with plenty of time and, you know, left myself enough time before the class started to have a decent warm-up and relax him and hopefully, you know, not hurry things. But yes, we didn't really get a good warm-up because we couldn't get a decent canter in because of having to avoid this other horse mainly. So there was sort of the other 2 or 3 of us were crammed down the other end. So that was really not very helpful. And then that young horse also was in the other arena next to me for my test, which probably didn't help too much either, because it was skittering around a bit as well. So while we were waiting for the music to start, I think you could see it in the background, and then I couldn't hear the music, so I had to put my hand up and say, can you put the music volume up, because I literally couldn't hear it. So they restarted it, and then I could just about hear it, but only if the wind wasn't blowing. So as soon as there was a big gust of wind, I couldn't hear the music at all. So our timing went completely out. The first part of the test wasn't too terrible, but it just got worse and worse and more tense as he went on. And every time I put my leg slightly behind the girth to ask for the half passes and things, he was just trying to bound into canter and getting very excited about things. And then he was just legs everywhere, you know, like the transitions were all terrible into the canters. Trying to come back for the simple changes, you know, they're always rubbish for us, but they were exceptionally rubbish. And then yeah, we finished completely out of time with the music. I had to chuck in an extra circle at the end of the trot to the walk because I was so far ahead of it. Yeah, so yes, it really wasn't the nice happy ride through of our music that we'd had on Friday, and that left me feeling so positive about it. It was just another disaster. And then I put him back in the stable for a bit and was going to go and get him ready for the second test, and tacked him up, got on him, went to go into the warm-up, and just outside the warm-up I stopped to say hello to my friend, and he then stood on his own feet, and a lady that had her stand there was like, oh, I think your horse might have just pulled his shoe off. And I was like, oh yeah, he has. So he'd trodden on the inside of his shoe and ripped out half of the nails, so it was then hanging on one side and twisted, and was basically sort of moving from side to side. So there was no way I could compete him with it like that. And we did ask if there was a farrier on call or anyone on site that might be able to help hammer it back on again, but there wasn't. So that was the end of that. So we emptied the stable and went home via my lovely farrier, who offered to bang it back on the way home. So we detoured there, and yeah, he interrupted his Sunday lunch to come out and just put a few nails back in. So I'm very thankful for that. So yes, all in all, not great. It cost me a hell of a lot of money for the stabling, the fuel, the entry fees. We didn't get to ride in our Spanish tack because of the shoe being pulled off. So I'm now at a point where I think I'm going to pull out of Windsor, because that was meant to be our trial run before Windsor to see how it went. But I didn't get to do it. So Windsor is very buzzy, and I just can't see how we're going to do it now. Without any kind of run-up competition, and I've just got to a point where I am fed up of spending all of my spare money on trying to go to competitions and coming away feeling completely downhearted. So I've made the decision for my sanity to not do them anymore. This winter has been horrendous, so not having any facilities, having to box everywhere to ride, and just the wet and the mud has just been so draining. And I've got a lot of physical issues myself with my health at the moment, which have been exacerbated by the horrible rain and mud. So I've been to the doctors today, and I'm hoping to get some help onwards with my joint pain and other issues that I've got going on with my health. But yeah, I just made the decision I need to get on top of those issues, and I am not going out competing while the field is like it is. It's just too difficult. You know, I just can't compete against these professional riders turning up with great facilities and big lorries with all the, you know, jazzy hoses and things on them. I haven't got any of that. So yeah, I don't like to give up, but I have to give up at the moment. Otherwise, I think I'm going to run myself completely into the ground, trying to keep the business going and do everything. So until the field dries up, that's it. I am not competing. I will just be doing some clinics. We've had some really good clinics. I'm not feeling completely downhearted about my riding because I've had some lovely feedback from various trainers that I've done things with, who are very highly respected judges and, you know, people that I really value their opinions, and they've said how much he's come on since I've had him and that he's a nice horse and I ride him well. So I'm not feeling, you know, completely crap, because I know we can do these things. We just seem to have some kind of block where it, you know, when it comes to the competing, we have a big block with that. So it's a shame, but I'm just not willing to throw away any more money chasing, you know, qualifications or just feedback that leaves me feeling like I've come up really short. So yeah, so watch this space. I think we'll just do some clinics, have some fun. I'd like to do some more working equitation and jumping and hacking. And as soon as my field dries up, I will be trying to get my lorry in the field so that I can take Estrella to some shows, because she's coming up 2 now, so it's time for her to learn how to load and travel and start getting her out to some in-hand things. So that's my plan. I don't know what I'll do with Elf at the moment. Maybe it's just the spring grass that's making him like this, I don't know, but yeah, there's no point pushing it at the moment. I'm not enjoying it, he's not enjoying it, or maybe he is enjoying it a bit too much, I'm not really sure. But it's just frustrating when I know how well he can go, and some of the clinics we've been to, he's just gone so nicely. It just feels like a huge backward step coming away from these competitions, feeling so crap about things. So I'm not willing to do it to myself anymore. So that's that. I'm not competing anymore. Saving the money, using the money to, you know, spend on some training, which obviously we need according to all the dressage judges. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but that's the end of that. Anyway, sorry it was another depressing vlog. Hopefully we'll have some good vlogs coming up soon about other things that aren't competing. And yeah, see what happens. I just wanted to say Sophie dropped around, which was really cute of her, with this unicorn biscuit and these flowers just to cheer me up after my rubbish competition. So yes, thank you Sophie, that was very sweet of you. And yeah, I think there was less unicorn, more, I don't know what he was, but definitely not a unicorn on Sunday. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to be notified of more videos. And in case you were wondering, I was wearing my Wide Boot Company jacket and boots. A big thank you to Philip, Amber, Claire and to my husband for helping, as well as Soph.